Early in my career, I received two big proposals. One was from my editor, asking me to move upstate to cover the New York legislature. The other was from my boyfriend, asking me to marry him. I said yes to both, even though I knew that meant leaving my fiance behind as I relocated to Albany for 6 months. This was the early 90s, when choosing state budget negotiations over wedding save the dates was practically unheard of. But I knew I couldn't conform to anyone else's expectations. I had to write my own rules. Some of those rules were small, like speaking up early in meetings to assert myself. Some of those rules were big, like not letting 3 maternity leaves derail my career. And as it turns out, during 2 of those leaves, I was actually promoted. A great boss once told me that working mothers are his favorite employees because working mothers get it done. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. Story by story, meeting by meeting, diaper by diaper, I was trying to change things. I was trying to get shit done.
I stand on the shoulder pads of the women who came before me. Women like Rebecca, who, while not in shoulder pads today, paved the way for my generation to actually break the rules. Rebecca learned to speak up early in meetings. I decided to not bother attending them. TBD on how that's working out for me, but I can tell you I get a lot of work done. Rebecca became the highest-ranking woman at the Wall Street Journal, and now the highest-ranking woman in the New York Times newsroom. I basically work from home without my pants most days. Speaking of pants, just a little aside, did you know that women were not allowed to wear pants on the Senate floor until 1993? Crazy, right? Senator Carol Moseley Braun, a national shero, wasn't even aware she was breaking the rules when she showed up in a pantsuit on her first day of work and overturned 75 years of tradition. I have often argued at the New York Times and elsewhere that the way things are, tradition, is not necessarily the way things should be. I have designed and created my last 3 jobs, including my current one, which didn't exist before, as the inaugural gender editor at the Times. And sometimes when I'm asked to do something I don't really want to do, something that's allegedly good for my career, I say no. Not because I'm an entitled millennial, at least not entirely because of that, but because I feel a duty deep down to push back on the old way of doing things. But whether we are making rules or breaking them, many of the same challenges, the same gnawing questions confront women today. Am I likable enough? Am I too aggressive? Am I too emotional? If I cry, will colleagues think I'm weak? Or will it show that I'm human? Every woman's experience is different, but we share a common struggle. A struggle that can't be solved by simply telling women to work harder or just be more confident. It's not about changing women. It's about changing the rules and the system as a whole.
In 2017, when our colleagues at the Times broke the Bill O'Reilly and the Harvey Weinstein stories, it felt like a reckoning was happening. For the first time in a long time, change was afoot. Hundreds of powerful men were brought down in the wake of Me Too, as thousands of women felt empowered to share their own stories. But it often feels these days that we've been taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. The number of female CEOs in the Fortune 500 hit a record recently after falling 25% last year. The current figure, not 50%, not 25%, not even 10%, but a measly 6.8%. Companies have signed on to promote diversity in record numbers, and yet men now report not wanting to mentor women because they're afraid of sending the wrong message. NASA announced its first all-female spacewalk, but then, get this, postponed it because they didn't have 2 spacesuits to fit women's bodies. And we thought we got Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, and now that's been postponed too.
And when it comes to politics, even in a truly historic year for women, the same old questions haunt female candidates. Is she presidential? Why is her voice so shrill? Can't she just smile more? Newsflash, women are not actually required to smile all day.
But we didn't invite you all here to dwell on the negatives. There are many, many things to celebrate and many extraordinary women making a difference. Women like New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who was at New Rules last year, and in the wake of a profound tragedy in her country, showed the world that it was possible to be empathetic, genuine, and ultimately unifying. Women like Susan Zirinsky, who is ushering in a bold new era at one of our country's most storied news organizations. Or women like Anita Hill, who you'll hear from shortly.
We're also here to celebrate women like Maren Alsop, who many of you heard from last night, the first woman to lead a major American orchestra. Later today, we will hear play the members of New York's first all-female mariachi band. It's women like Katie Bowman, who led development of a computer program that made the first image of a black hole possible. You may have seen this online. It went completely viral. And the US national women's soccer team, who, by the way, crushed it against Thailand this week, who are standing up for equal pay even as they fight for a World Cup title. These people didn't succeed despite being women. They succeeded because they are women. The data on this is really clear. Studies show that women are more empathetic than men. Sorry, guys in the room. Companies with women in decision-making roles generate stronger market returns. There's even research to show that if we could achieve gender parity in this country, the US GDP would rise by 26%. The numbers don't lie. When women make the rules, everybody wins.
So that's where you come in. Last year, 300 women and men gathered at this conference and watched as Dr. Christine Blasey Ford testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, history unfolding before our eyes. It was unforgettable to share that experience together. And today, we want to continue in that spirit, in that shared sense of purpose. It's time to write some new rules. I'll start. Old rule, you have to choose between a career and family. How about this for a new rule? Companies create family-friendly workplaces so you can have both. And partners play an equal role in caregiving. Shout out to my husband, Alan, who I think is here.
Alan! Old rule. Diversity is about committees, buzzwords, and a lot of talking about diversity. New rule. We set concrete and measurable goals, and we hold ourselves accountable. Old rule. Men are silent bystanders. New rule. Men are here today, and they are active allies, and we need them to make real change.
So now it's your turn. It's up to you and the other remarkable people here today to make specific recommendations, which we will publish in a special section of the New York Times on Monday. So make them good. If you haven't yet picked your working group, there's still time. Just head to the registration desk. Before we begin our program, let me thank our sponsors who made today possible: IBM, AARP, Belvedere Vodka, and Lyft. And now I'm incredibly honored to welcome to the stage a woman whose unwavering courage paved the way for us all, Professor Anita Hill. She will be interviewed by my meeting-skipping and amazing colleague, Jessica Bennett.